So, the University of Plymouth, obviously a leading maritime university internationally. We have a fleet of vessels and the only university with a marine side campus. I think that's quite important because it does show and demonstrate how at the university we have a whole host of staff, colleagues working from both a research perspective but also operationally. We understand the difficulties of going to sea, of taking vessels out, of deploying autonomous assets on a daily basis, of doing diving qualifications, of operating these things at different types of weathers. This is what we do. So I think that sets us aside from a lot of other universities, nationally specifically, but also internationally. And then moving on, we've got other assets on our main campus site, so the coast basin, which historically we've used mainly for offshore renewable energy testing, but actually now moving forward we're doing a lot more marine autonomy in that basin as well, and it can be used as such. Also, the navigation suites that we have, obviously before we were a University of Polytechnic, but before that we were actually a navigation college. So more than 100 years ago, looking now, that is where we've come from as a grounder. And the other thing there at the top is actually the cyber ship lab. So we do have world-leading facilities around cyber in maritime specifically, and that leads across both shipping, vessels, marine autonomy, but also into offshore renewable energies with the Crown Lab that was recently opened last year by Luke Pollard in Plymouth itself. So our specific talk this morning is around the Subsea Connect project and how that feeds into Smart Sound and the wider infrastructure assets that are in Plymouth Sound, and why businesses will find it useful to come to Plymouth and do their trials and deployments and testing. So you'll see from this, many people already have heard of Smart Sound and understand how that operates and has been around for a very long time. This aspect from now, from a university perspective, is the Subsea Connect piece, so beneath the water. So we are working closely with PML and also with Solidyne to deploy the nodes and the networking comm system beneath the water. We have done it a couple of times already, and we are working extensively to get a good trials period in place in June this year, where we at the moment have got 5 companies already working with us to actually deploy their assets using that subsea system and the comms piece that goes alongside it. So I would like to show you something now that's a little bit different. If I can press play. There we go. So from a university perspective, I think this is also a completely different angle that I'm going to take now just for a moment. We are very good at interdisciplinary research and interdisciplinary working across different sectors. At this point in time, the video that's showing behind is not a video, it's a completely animated model that's been developed in-house by researchers and academics at the university. So this is a visual piece, a model piece that we want to use moving forward that demonstrates all the different types of assets that can be used in and around Plymouth Sound at different points in time. It's around science communication. It's about understanding actually the things that you can't see with your visible eye. It's about really communicating it across all different sectors, but also from our perspective looking at the future workforce and trying to encourage more students into our programs as well. But this is the sort of activities, personally, I just think it looks really cool. So we go out from Plymouth Sound itself, we go out past the breakwater. And this has taken quite a while to develop, but it is now a model that can be used and adapted. So it's not a video, it's something you can apply and put other real-world testing conditions into. So we'll be moving forward over the summer with those 5 businesses that are using the Subsea Connect project and describing their trial and test and their story using this visual piece, so that they can use it for their investment, marketing, comms and communications themselves as well. And I think the broader piece around that is the National Centre for Marine Autonomy, its infrastructure and assets around testing and trialling is one of the fundamentals of the ecosystem of how we can bring new businesses and sectors into Plymouth to work with the partners that are part of this stand at the moment. So that's the Elfoy buoy that PML look after on a regular basis. That's Bowser, the Royal Navy vessel that we are operating from a university perspective on a regular basis. and that's CETUS, that is also one of our university assets that we use for marine autonomy testing and research and teaching quite extensively. The Autonaut is PMLs. They use that, again, similar sense. It's gathering information via a whole range of different sensors it's deployed on a regular basis. In the background, you've got the USB Pioneer for Aqua Ocean, one of our partners in the NCMA, but also have their own stand. That is often out in Plymouth Sound, and it just shows the breadth of different assets are regularly in the waters off the coast of the city. So I'm going to hand over to Charlie now to talk about the actual subsea elements, and he can talk you through some of those assets.
Cool, thank you very much, Sarah. So the core of the Smart Sound Connect subsurface system is these orange and steel nodes that you see on the video behind me. And these comprise of a passive USBL for direction and range data from subsea assets, as well as a compact as a communications node. And these can be deployed individually or as an array of up to 9 assets, and have communication capabilities between each other, between other seabed assets such as ADCP landers, as well as subsurface assets such as AUVs and other submersibles, as well as dual use and surface platforms. L4 itself is our primary surface node, as well as CETUS and Bowser can be fitted with communication assets to act as a mobile surface node that we can translate communications and control of subsea assets via these surface nodes up through satellite and other radio communications back to ground-based control stations or other local support vessels. So via the nodes we can. One of the aspects that we're working on at the moment is relaying live data from ADCPs and other seabed monitoring assets via the nodes, then onwards via surface assets, via satellite communications and back to ground-based data centers for processing. And that allows much faster access to real-time data coming from seabed assets that wasn't previously available in real time without going and recovering those assets to recover the data. And that's really an overview of sort of the capabilities that we have at the moment through the Smart Sound subsurface system. And that's our sort of offering.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, so I think the key things there are the Subsea Connect project is part of the Smart Sound infrastructure, but it's a new element, so we're trying to now build out Smart Sound to be fit for the future, as well as what it's been done extremely successfully in the past. And the subsurface piece is quite integral, I think, for a lot of the assets, and obviously 2 of the assets we've got on the stand at the moment are underwater assets, so I think moving forward that's quite integral. There is the dual use piece, understanding how things can be used for different sectors. So that's something we are taking into account with the networks that we're setting up and the way that we can operate them. And the nodes that Charlie was talking about a moment ago, we can deploy them and configure them depending on what the research question is or the commercial parameters you want to test. So that is something to look at big going forward. It's not a static system. It can be adapted accordingly to the business sector needs of what they actually wanting to do with that moving forward. So Charlie and I are here now for a moment. If we've got any questions, we can take them now, but we're also happy to just speak to anybody individually and have discussions around this. And I might just play the video again because it's quite nice to look at. Thank you.